What's going on, YouTube? It's Q Cole, and I want to talk to you about creating music with intent. I think it's a good subject for a lot of young producers, songwriters, artists in general. I think it's a great topic, but specifically talking to production and how I have started utilizing intent in my music and creating freely and being able to do both in one song. And I think that's a perfect way. Create freely. Then once you get all the ideas out, start using intent to in certain things to be able to convey the emotion or the story that you're trying to tell. And my process started out just really with creating freely, and I made some, really dope tracks. There's nothing wrong with that. But once I started adding intent into my own personal music of the story that I'm trying to tell, my music went up a notch, and my arrangements and over time that all went up because I had that intent that I was portraying in my music. So when I say flying by the seat of my pants, it's literally just I sit down at the computer and I either find a sample or I start messing around with some synth sounds and just an idea comes, and then I start just embellishing off that idea. And so it's like, all right, I might add a synth and I might go on Splice, find me a drum loop, then I might chop that drum loop up, and I'm just exploring and world building. That's typically what I end up doing first. Then I would just pretty much finish the beat and then send it off. And then I would send it to artists and they'll be like, man, I don't know what to say over this, whatever. And I don't even have a theme, a story, an emotion, a vibe to even tell them because I just created something and didn't even like think about it. Now, what I do is I do the same process of creating, but then once I get everything together and I'm just letting it play over and over, then I start thinking like, all right, what is this telling me? What is these chords telling me? What is this synth telling me? What's the emotion that I'm trying to convey across to my listener? And then that helps me dictate my arrangement, and because my arrangement is my storytelling, I can create all these layers, 8 bar loops, 8 bar loop of just, everything: bass, keys, synths, drums, guitar, and, odd stuff, and, everything. And now it's like, all right, how does these individual pieces help me tell a greater story? For example, if we look at an artist I work with, Dope Tav, perfect song example is well, two good examples on there. But the first one I'll talk about is Misled. It's the ending of our song, ending of our on our album Ascension. We have the song Misled, and the artist is really just talking about his life and how he just took the wrong path on a lot of different things, and he was listening to advice from others that led him in the directions, but it's at no fault but to his own. And rather than blaming everybody else, and he was just apologizing for being misled. So when I created that, I really didn't know what he was going to talk about at first. I just made a beat. Then he recorded over it. I heard the song. Then I went back and then started going on the arrangement. And it's like, all right, how can I convey the emotion he is trying to say in this song, and how can I embellish on top of that? And that's what dictated my arrangement. And also what helped me dictate the arrangement, it was the last song. So I needed to make it feel like the project was complete. So I did a pretty much a 4-minute outro. And because this last song was him acknowledging his faults and apologizing for it, and I needed him, that was a level up for him as a human and as a person. So I needed the outro to feel like that, like he was ascending. His consciousness grew, because he grew as a man. And I wanted to people to experience that feeling through music, and I was able to convey that. And then the other song is Blame. And Blame, again, it's really a song about him being him in his past relationship with the mother of his child, and the cheating that went on in their relationship, how he acted and everything. But he was like, "There's no one else to blame but me." Um, and when I made that track, put I gave him just a sample. I found a loop. I chopped up the sample and just sent him a loop. It had no drums or anything, and he wrote that and he gave it back to me. And then once I started listening, I was like, "Oh, he has all these thoughts running in his head, and this is what he's really talking about. Is just that the nonstop the noise in here." So I was like, "Well, how can I convey that musically?" And I pretty much made this smooth sample, but in the hook I just made it so chaotic to where it was almost out of control. And it's funny because I felt very insecure about that beat because I felt like I did too much, but it actually came across great. And I wanted to sound very out of control because I wanted you to experience what was in his head. So I lowered his vocals, his main vocals, a little bit, and had all the noise going around. So and it just felt like you were just in this chaos. And so thinking about those little things, that's where the intent comes from. And working on the album Ascension and being the sole producer of one single album and the sole arranger and everything like that, I had to really think about what is the intent of each song, and I had to break it down. So now in my own personal productions, being able to create freely, but then take a step back and then be able to critically analyze this song and see how can I push my story forward is a very dope skill set to learn, and that will help you push your music. And so this approach will help you finish songs. I won't say quickly, it just will help you finish songs and not be so directionless. When you get done making a beat, let it play. Walk around the house, go wash some dishes, throw some clothes in the laundry while it's playing. But then your brain's gonna start thinking like, oh shit, this makes me feel like this. This is making me feel like that. And then you can write those notes down or just put them just in your memory. And then when you come back to that beat, now you have a place where you can go. You can get out of that 8-bar loop and start being able to arrange this song. So when you're listening to your beats, talk to yourself. How does this make me feel? How do I want this to make the listener feel? Is the track meant for people to dance, reflect, heal, vibe? Is just, you got to ask these questions. And when you start asking yourself those questions, this will help you musically. And it also doesn't kill your creativity because you're already creating freely. You did that beforehand. Now you're analyzing it. So for me personally, my workflow is load up Ableton and I create in Ableton. Just create, throw paint at a wall. I'm just having fun. Then I might leave it alone for a day or two, or that night I might come back to it and start dumping samples into the MPC and make a whole nother beat out of what I just made. Then I dump all that back into Ableton. And then I start thinking about, all right, now what do I want to do? I have all these color palettes that I can use to tell this story. What is the story that I'm trying to tell? And that will help you build energy. It'll help you have a flow and be able to keep you moving the ball down the field. My favorite thing in life is not life, but my favorite thing just to think about to keep me going is I'm an Alabama football fan. And, that old school Saban football was, game management and keep that ball moving down the field. I don't care if it's 1 yard. I don't care if it's 2 yards, 5, 10, 20. It doesn't matter. As long as that ball is moving down the field, you keep having forward progress. And I look at that when it comes to me playing guitar. I look at that when it comes to me making beats and creating music is, did I move that goalpost? Did I move that yard, 1 yard, 2 yards, 3? It doesn't matter how many yards I move as long as I'm continuing to keep moving forward. And that's what this process is about. It's always constantly keep you going and moving forward and getting that ball down the field. So I want to end off with just saying, don't just make loops. Try to make statements in your music. You know, Creating freely with intent this is why we got into it, is just to create what our heart's desire is, but then we have to rein it in and be able to make it digestible for the listener, and that is my goal. So I take that kind of a pop, even though I make electronic music, I take a pop arrangement mindset to my music to help me be able to tell a story so it's easily digestible for anybody. And really also say this, use this for you to guys to reflect more about your music, about yourself, and what your intent is on creating, and what you want the people to, what you want people to hear and take from your music. Um, I think with AI, I think with AI and everything, we got to start really adding in the humanity into our music, and um show the world what we can create, and I think that's going to set us apart from everybody else who is using these AI tools. And I have nothing wrong with AI. I think it has a place, but right now, just with anything, it's like a new restaurant coming to your city. Everybody's going to use it, and then next thing they get tired of it, and then they're going to go back to their old things. And I think that's kind of how it's going to happen. It's going to have a place, and it's going to be used, but let's really start focusing on our humanity and how we impart that into our music, and that's what I think is going to keep us going for a very long time. So I hope this made sense. I hope this helps you out if you're stuck and musically and everything. Start asking yourself these questions and see where it takes you. And then in the comments below, let me know, what your process is. How do you create intent? How do you take your creativity to the next level, or transition from a very creative standpoint to a more analytical mindset? And where do you go from there? I would love to hear your journey. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see y'all next time.